We're standing at a massive fork in the road. One path promises this incredible future of wealth, what people are calling an AI dividend. But the other path, well, that same technology could tear a black hole right through the systems that hold our society together. So the question we've got to ask ourselves is a pretty stark one. Is AI going to optimize our future, or are a lot of us just going to get left behind?
So let's just dive right into the question that's probably on your mind. When you think about AI in your own job, your own career, do you picture it as this amazing new tool, a colleague that helps you crush it every day? Or do you get that little pit in your stomach wondering if it's the thing that's eventually going to replace you? Because that right there is the fundamental conflict we're all wrestling with. AI is like the textbook definition of a double-edged sword. On one side, you have this promise of a crazy leap in productivity and wealth, a world where we could have unimaginable abundance. But on the other side, there's the very, very real risk of massive job losses, of deepening inequality, and of a society basically split between the people who own the AI and the people who got replaced by it. And the scale of what's on the table here is just staggering. Economists are projecting that AI could boost global GDP by a whopping 7% in the next decade. We're talking trillions of dollars in new wealth. That's the AI dividend right there. The potential is enormous. But, the trillion-dollar question is, who actually gets to cash in on that dividend?
Because this isn't some far-off theory. The disruption is already hitting. And look, it's not just hitting the jobs we used to think of as automatable. For instance, between just 2023 and 2025, we're projected to see a drop of over 27% in computer programmer jobs. Why? Because generative AI is getting ridiculously good at writing code. And you can see millions of administrative and retail jobs are right there on the chopping block too. The AI revolution is coming for the office, not just the factory floor.
And this is where things get really weird and kind of scary. This disruption creates a dangerous paradox. The exact same efficiency that's creating all this wealth could, at the same time, completely bankrupt the social safety nets we've relied on for generations. So let's break down how this social security black hole actually works.
It really all boils down to one thing: the payroll tax. For decades, systems like Social Security have run on a really simple idea. You tax the wages of people who are working. Simple enough, right? In the US, this one tax accounts for 90% of the funding for benefits. The entire system is built on the foundation of human beings earning a paycheck. Think of it like a giant conveyor belt. Younger workers get on, they work, they pay into the system, and that money goes right down the belt to pay the benefits for the folks who are retired right now. It's a pay-as-you-go system, and it totally depends on a constant flow of human workers getting on that belt. So, what happens when you start yanking people off the belt and replacing them with machines? Well, this is the fatal flaw. When a company hires you, a human, they pay payroll taxes. But when that company replaces you with an AI or a robot, that's just a business expense, like buying a new computer. It does the same work, creates the same value, but it pays zero, absolutely zero payroll tax. Every single time a job gets automated, it's like punching another hole in the bucket that funds our social safety net. And listen, this is not some distant 50 years from now problem. Based on what we're seeing with automation and our aging population, analysts are projecting the Social Security Trust Fund could be totally empty as early as 2032. That is just around the corner. So what happens then? What happens when the well runs dry? Well, if nothing changes, benefits would just be automatically slashed by up to 24% for everyone. For millions of retirees who count on that money to, live, this would be absolutely devastating. Which brings us to the really crucial question. If the traditional source of funding, people working, is starting to dry up, where on earth is the money going to come from? This problem is forcing us to completely rethink the very idea of a social contract. Okay, so let's look at some of the big ideas being kicked around. Because as scary as this is, it's also a huge opportunity. It's a chance to design a whole new system, one that's actually built for a future with automation. There are basically 4 big ideas on the table. First, you've got the robot tax, basically tax companies when they replace a person with a machine. Then there's universal basic income, or UBI. Every citizen gets a regular check, no questions asked. Of course, that kicks off a whole debate about whether money can replace the meaning we get from work. A third idea is something called double dignity jobs. And fourth, what if we created a giant national investment fund, a sovereign wealth fund that invests in AI and pays out the profits to everyone, like a dividend? They all have some really interesting upsides and some pretty serious downsides. Let's dig into that double dignity idea for a second, because it's a pretty cool alternative to just cutting checks. The whole concept is you take the massive profits from AI and you pour that money back into jobs that AI is terrible at, jobs that are all about empathy, human connection, and care. Think about things like elder care, mental health support, one-on-one tutoring. These jobs give dignity to the worker, because it's meaningful work, and they give dignity to the person receiving the care. It's a really powerful idea.
But hold on. What if we solve the money problem, which is already a huge challenge, only to run smack into an even bigger, even weirder one? The solutions we've been talking about are trying to fix economic inequality. But what happens when the next wave of tech creates a divide based not on what's in your wallet, but what's hardwired into your brain? What you're looking at here is the surgical robot from a company called Neuralink. Their goal is to create a brain-computer interface, a BCI, that literally merges the human mind with AI. Now, their first goal is to help people with paralysis, which is amazing. But the long-term vision is to upgrade human cognition for all of us.
And if you're thinking this is some kind of sci-fi movie stuff, think again. The company was started in 2016, and they're already targeting 2026 for high-volume production of these implants. They are actively working to industrialize neurosurgery, to turn it into something like an assembly line. This future is coming way, way faster than most people realize.
And this could lead to something experts are starting to call bioinequality. Just imagine a society where the main dividing line isn't between the rich and the poor, but between the enhanced and the unenhanced. A social class system based not on what you have, but on what you are. And this slide really makes it real. On one side, you have an enhanced person who can maybe process information at the speed of light with perfect memory and incredible cognitive function. On the other side, you have a regular, unenhanced human. How do you even begin to compete with that in the job market? We could accidentally create a permanent biological underclass.
Okay, we've got a potential economic crisis on one hand and a potential biological one on the other. It sounds pretty grim, right? But here's the most important thing to remember. None of this is set in stone. The biggest variable in this whole equation isn't the tech, it's us. There's this fantastic quote from a recent analysis that just nails it. It doesn't matter how big or powerful the AI models get, what matters is whether we can build the right institutions and make the right policies to manage this transition. The technology is just a tool, it's an amplifier. The outcome is all about the choices we make.
So let's just recap the big takeaways. First, AI doesn't invent a new world. It just magnifies the one we've already got. Second, our 20th century safety net based on payroll taxes is just not built for an age of automation. Third, we absolutely have to create a new social contract if we want to share the incredible prosperity of AI. And finally, and this is the most important one, the future we get is the one we're building with the choices we make right now.
At the end of the day, technology just gives us more power. It makes our choices matter more, and it makes the consequences bigger. It's like we're being handed this giant lever that could move the world toward incredible prosperity for everyone, or it could push us into even deeper division. So the final question really isn't about what AI is going to do to us. It's about what we are going to choose to do with it. What kind of future are we going to build?